splat. Stop, let this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. Get your lick back. If a nigga owe you something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop, let this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. I feel like I'm JX.
J-Way.
I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless.
I'm gone.
Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that neck.
Give me
Into
that.
the trends. See a lead, be the band.
Good evening. Oh yeah. How you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. Good. It's finally a little warm stretch here. We thawing out from the winter. Boys looking ready to break camp. We've got some interesting developing topics here around the Tigers in Lakeland.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, and yes, we cannot get past the beautiful weather that we've had. Well, here and there, you know, we had some rain, we had some wind, a lot of things going on, but nothing like some actual semi-spring weather to just bring in the Tigers season. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I don't even want to say cautiously optimistic. I really feel like we have a nice composition of players. I feel like a lot of the guys that we are, expecting to play well have already gotten in, opening day form. And I gotta commend Scott Harris. I feel like the things that he is putting into place, the roster moves that he is making, the drafting, the developing, I think has us really built not just for the long haul of the season this year, but also the future. We've seen a lot of our young guys getting some extended at bats at the end of games, for what it's worth. But even our free agent acquisitions seem to be motivated and poised for a good, a strong season. But what have you seen from your own perspective?
It's just the last couple of weeks have been unusual per se, just because of everything that's been going on that we'll touch on in greater detail. So you're seeing a lot more opportunity, even though sometimes limited with some of these other prospects that are a bit further down the list that perhaps normally would not have been given as many innings or at bats or, other various opportunities defensively, even so, as a result. So we're kind of seeing a little bit further into that farm system that you alluded to. And I would say that from a drafting standpoint and evaluating talent and taking guys where they've taken them and for what positions in the last couple of years, I think Harris has done a pretty good job in that aspect, especially the short time that he's turned around the farm system in terms of overall value against others across the landscape. I can't say the same too much about their free agency signings. Flaherty obviously panned out very well last year, but that was hoping that's not a one-hit wonder for him. But again, he's only back on a one-year deal. They've done a good job with Skubal. Although it wasn't his pick, he's developed nicely along the way throughout the system and up at the big club, obviously, last year. It's a hell of a progression for him and mainstay for the rotation. But, it's been I think there's some guys here that I think maybe have raised some eyebrows, kind of put themselves on the radar this spring to potentially compete for some difficult call-up opportunities and potentially even, another ball club by the time spring breaks and everyone heads out for opening day one. Some teams might be calling hey on some availability of some of our other guys that we might be a little clustered in certain positions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have an extremely deep team. Obviously, our outfield has been a little bit depleted, and we will certainly have to weather the storm. And I think that we are equipped and built to have enough guys to withstand what we have going on. But we went into the offseason like we don't have enough power from the right-handed side. We need to address that. and we both expressed our, the fact that, does Gleyber Torres make sense? Is he a team player? Is he going to pan out? That's still yet to be seen. But so far in my eyes, he's passing the eye test as far as, I think he's hit 3 home runs this so far this camp. But I think he's a guy that's going to be versatile. You're going to be able to run him out there and, anywhere from the top of the lineup to the middle of the lineup, and he's going to give you professional at bats. He's going to, when I look at his plate discipline and his just discernment to even close pitches, he reminds me of Mark Canha in a sense, a Mark Canha that actually has a threat to, attack when it's time to. I feel like Canha at this point in his career, was very passive. He didn't have much, punch, but, Gleyber Torres is still kind of in the physical prime of his career. He had some success early on in his career. Like I think as soon as his rookie year, he was in the MVP talks. I mean, this is a guy that hit 40 home runs, but I think he's still capable of hitting the ball out of the park at a pretty nice rate. And as I've talked about numerous times, this is a player that still realized that he has one more big contract left in his career. It probably won't be with the Tigers, but if he can contribute and give anywhere near an MVP performance, he's going to be a major bat in the middle of that lineup. And we already know we have guys like Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter that are, they haven't even hit their prime yet. Gleyber Torres may be in his prime. I think Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green still haven't even got to that pinnacle point. But this team, I think this team has the potential to have actually a ton of righty bats that can hit for power. And I think that the potential for what our lineups could be when they throw out a lefty, you're going to have to deal with. I feel like we saw the potential he had early last year. He struck out a ton, but we saw those early power outbursts. And I think that now that he's had a half year under his belt, I think that he's another guy that could potentially 20 home runs. Dylan Dingler. I've said a lot. I haven't even really got into it, but I do want to give you an opportunity to interject there because I do have more to talk about as far as our righty bats. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
Oh, my bad. I was basically I wanted to give you an opportunity because I was kind of going on a little rant about the right-handed hitters, but
yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I think there's hope in a nutshell for some of these guys. The things that I was just looking at. Gleyber, 2 years ago was in the MVP conversation. You look at last year, though. I mean, if we're saying last year, most recent body of work is his prime. 15 home runs, a 257 average, 80 runs, 63 RBIs with 378 slugging. That's fine. 1 year and goodbye. I could care less kind of at that point, but we got to get something. I mean, because it's not going to matter. He's not going to get cut, unless he just completely bottoms out, so we're essentially stuck with him, a guy that won't play any other position other than second base. In a team where we probably have 3 or 4 second basemen and could use some flexibility. So we'll see. I mean, there's some hope with the numbers. I think overall compared to Torque in terms of right-handed power and what we've seen in the spring, Torque's literally been an all or nothing guy. He's got 4 extra base hits. They're all home runs. So it's kind of skewing some of the overall numbers because he's not hit anything else other than some singles. So, and his walk to strikeout, plate appearances per walk is out of the guys that would be starting on the 26-man day one. It's the worst this spring. It's like a .029. So that's less than 3 at-bats for every 100 he is going to get a walk. So if that's the approach he's taking this year and he's going to try and swing away and go for the fences, then, it's going to look like a weird, Kyle Schwarber line. You might bet 210, but Lord help me, you better have, 30 plus home runs and 90 plus RBIs in doing so. Otherwise, some of those other big power hitters, lefties back in 2000s that were all power, nothing else. So we'll see. They got to get something from both of those guys. So I think they'll be the focal point, at least from a hitting standpoint going forward.
Yeah, and just to kind of close out, I mean, like I said, I think that Malloy, just off the eye test, just the way some of the, he's not. I mean, Malloy is a guy that's not going to get you blue hits. This guy is he's been hitting the ball right back up the box. He doesn't have a home run yet this career, but I mean, home run this spring yet, but he's been hitting the ball hard, and he's been hitting the ball, and he's been getting hits with runners on base, which is the most important thing. It's one of the things that we struggle with mightily last year. It's something that it's one of the adjustments that I'm seeing from Torque. Another guy that's he hasn't hit his first home run against like 100-mile-per-hour fastball, but he is hitting some fastballs with some decent velocity. He's hitting the ball opposite field, which he's always been a dead pull hitter. And he's got 9 hits out of 33 at bats. He's got a ton of at bats this spring thus far. And I gotta say, he's certainly going to make the team, but I'm buying in on him having a stronger start to the year. He's always had issues in the spring and starting off slow, and I think that him starting out so well is going to have good. It's going to be good momentum going into the year. But outside of them, I think that I'm going to go out on a limb and say that by the end of the year, Dylan Dingler is going to be the more prominent catcher. I think that Jake Rogers is always going to catch Skubal. I think that's always going to be a thing no matter what. But I think that history has shown that Dylan Dingler always starts slow. First of all, he's a defensive catcher first. We don't have to worry about him lacking on the defensive side of things, but it's always been proven that he takes him a little second to get going with the bat, and he's hit a couple moonshots as well so far this spring. So I think that I think as Jake Rogers ages, he's getting, I don't know if he's getting up there, but he's 29, 30, and we love his veteran presence and all that, but this is going to be kind of the changing of the guard coming up with guys like Thayron Lorenzo, trailing just behind in the next couple of years, and we'll be going through that same process. But Thayron Lorenzo very well could be a multi-time all-star with the way his bat is, with the way his bat talent has been displayed, whether that's a DH, first base, catcher, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I'm also, I'm buying in on the Javi Baez train as well. This is a guy that has taken some walks this spring. He's hit some bombs. Another guy that, he doesn't always start hot in the spring. Not to say that we're buying all in on the spring stock, but this is also a player that has now fully healthy. He's playing multiple positions. He's always hit well with runners in scoring position. Even in his worst statistical years, he's always found a way to get the job done with runners on. And this is a guy that's still in the top 15 of bat speed. The guy can still swing the stick. His approach is what it is, but he has the physical attributes. He's still in great shape. He's still got a cannon of an arm, and I don't know. And we know that Vierling is going to be back soon. That's going to be another consistent, strong bat as well. So we already know what the lefties are going to do. Meadows, Green, Sweeney possibly, but I do not want to see him against a lefty. He looked awful against lefties on Friday. You know, he was lost. I'll just say that he was lost. When Parker Meadows comes back, you know, he's kind of he was everything to us last year defensively and to start innings. He hit for power as well. This team is very deep. This team is built for the long haul. We know that there's going to be injuries. Last year, we had guys like Ryan Velarde, Bly Madris, Bud Kennedy, Wenzel Perez. Wenzel Perez is another player that we didn't necessarily know when we'd see him, but he was vital down the stretch last year. And I think
Kreidler.
Who?
Kreidler was another one.
Yeah, Kreidler. Yeah. Kreidler was awful last year.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of the guys that we called up,
no.
Seen the major league level. Right. Yeah, it was a long list.
Yeah, I mean, Kreidler was up during July and August, and certainly when Baez was hurt, and who else was kind of hurt around that time? Maybe Gio was injured, but anyways, but yeah, you know, Kreidler's another story. He's one of those guys that, you know, he's likable guy. He can play a ton of. I don't know if you saw the clip of best athletes on the team, where it was Twerk was was playing point with the discussion, but Kreidler, he was like, somebody said, "Nah, not Kreidler," and he was like, "Why not? I played 9 positions." Like, you know, so you know, likable guy. He's within that circle. I feel like of likable guys, and you know,
Donnie Kelly.
yeah. But you know, he's gonna hang on. You know, and guys like Andrew Navigato, who I've actually got a decent opportunity to see play, who can also play a lot of positions. You know, I think he hit 400. I'm not gonna humor myself here. He had 25 at bats, 1 home run, 5 RBIs, and hit 400, hit 1104 OPS, and he played, I want to say he played corner outfield and all over the infield, but they whatever. Obviously the things that we don't see as far as practice and everything else would suggest that the Tigers view him as a 4A player, last contingency plan if we need a utility player, but I mean, Ryan Kreidler is probably hitting under 100 right now. Let's look at it. And then we got to take a break. I'm going on a rant. I needed this tight.
I needed this spring line. I got a spring line.
You got it. Oh yeah. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So this is average OPS and slugging. His slash line is 167, 344 with a 333 slug.
Disgusting. And this is, we saw him play at the major. It's not like, oh, well, you know, we don't know what. No, we've got a pretty solid sample size of him playing in the major leagues, and he made the team out of camp, I want to say 2 years ago. So we've got a nice look at him. We know Scott Harris likes certain type of players. He can play center field too. So
his slash line is only better than McKinstry, Wenzel, and Bly. That's it.
Yeah, Bly and McKinstry have also had bad have had poor springs, and we're going to talk about Wenzel Perez because, well,
a little more to unpack in that.
For sure. Let's take a break here. Let's get into the injury report right quick. You got it up?
Yeah. So, they did confirm, I believe it was Thursday or Friday this week, that Parker Meadows, as we kind of anticipated, just considering the condition of his injury involving a nerve that was, quote unquote, not firing or not engaging. He will not be ready with Vierling for the opening day series with the Dodgers. And it sounds like they are going to start both of them unofficially confirmed yet, but it sounds like they're both headed to the IL to start. So what day they put them on, I don't know, but I would imagine at the minimum we'll just say, is there a 7-day? I know there used to be a 10-day. So, but easily they're going to miss the first 2 to 3 series depending on what that duration of IL they put them on. Hopefully it's the smallest one first, because other than that, I think it jumps right to 30. So those two guys are out of the equation for now, as they both do some light activities here and there. And then, Wenceel Perez received a cortisone shot to help some of the healing process and deal with some of the pain in his ongoing back issue that he has been enduring for about the last, almost the last week, if not almost at least the last 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, and we also got some updates on the Jose Urquidy. This was actually breaking news as we were closing out the show last Saturday. But we signed him to a $1 million contract, and we thought to ourselves, "Oh, he hasn't played in a while. He's coming off Tommy John surgery." So ultimately, we've already signed him. He's got a club option for next year in the event that he just tears it up the second half of the year. But he's starting off on the 60-day IL. Opening up a spot, which I'm not 100% if we've filled that spot yet, because I think we made another signing. Did we make another signing this week?
It was a minor league. We signed John Bravia.
Oh well, that was
starting pitcher. But yeah, but the move for the 60 IL doesn't necessarily open up a spot because he wasn't already on the roster yet. So it's kind of a one for, as far as I'm aware, after they designated the other week, there's still one open roster spot. There's still one on the 40-man.
Right. Maybe it didn't open up a spot, but there was one. There has always been one, but there certainly was one after that signing. Whether
he'll end up taking one when he.
Yeah, well, eventually down the line somewhere, but But at any rate, yeah. So this was a he was immediately put on the 60-day IL. So he's not taking anyone's spot. This isn't necessarily a response, because at the time we were like, oh, that's a response to somebody else being hurt, but not if he's going to be put right on the 60-day. They're essentially stashing him for free because $1 million is nothing. And this is part of why I say that we're building ourselves up for the tail end of the year. We got a guy like Chafin, who I'm assuming is going to stick with us on a minor league. I mean, there's no way. I don't know, but I feel like he's somebody that we're just going to stash and give us additional depth at the left hand. As far as left-handed pitchers are concerned, that may or not be true. But yeah, so the Urquidy signing is not anything that's going to affect our immediate success. So, nothing to worry about there. But we talked about Wenceel Perez and his the cortisone shot and all that jazz. But as far as I've heard, he is going to be the opening day center fielder as of now. This graphic isn't. Let me see if I can pull this up and read it. That's what I've been hearing, is that they are getting him ready to be the opening day starter.
Yeah, I mean, it makes the most sense based on who is healthy right now, and Riley can play it. He's shown the ability to do so a couple years ago, but I mean, he is best suited to play with the most opportunity to have an impact is going to be the corner outfield, and left field just makes the most sense. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of an addition by subtraction in that regard for Wenceel starting at center, but
So tell me what Wenceel's slash line is, because he's had some time off. He hasn't had a ton of at bats, but I've had an opportunity to watch some of them, and I haven't seen too much more than him rolling over first base. I'm certain that he's hitting under 100. What is his slash line?
Well, you're correct on the first assumption. He's batting 059 with a 158 OBP and a 059. They're all singles, basically the same slug, 059.
Yeah. So like I said, you don't put too much into the success of certain players, and you don't want to put too much into the the opposite, lack of success. But I don't see that situation lasting long, especially with guys like Jahmai Jones who have played so well. AJ is trying him out all over the place. He's not currently on the 40 man right now. But
I don't see how he doesn't make it at this point. I just don't.
That's the way I feel. I wish his stint at third would have went a little bit better. That would have made me feel a little better. But
I mean, let's be real. They're going to try 5 people out at third base by the end of the spring training, and that are seriously going to be considered to get even the most minute of playing time there, at least out of the gate. So, but to your point, though, with the injuries and the corner outfield and losing some flexibility that we had in Vierling to play the infield too, I think Jahmai Jones, especially too from a power standpoint, guy drives the ball well. I saw the one game with him that he was on TV. I think it was the first game. I got to see him on TV and some highlights too online. Impressive. Held his own. You come from granted, he just played only last year in New York. That's not an easy atmosphere, even for a home guy to play in, especially if you're struggling. They are a little unmerciful there in New York. So I think he's got a little bit of tough skin on him. And having a former teammate and Gleiber come over at the same time has kind of maybe helped his transition be a little easier. But yeah, I think he proved too much to not be on the 40 man.
Yeah, I agree. I tried to pull up the lineup where he was playing third, but I don't think this is the one. But yeah, on consecutive
I think it was the other day.
Yeah. On consecutive days, we got to see Javi Baez, who we can confirm. I did see some rumors of Javi Baez playing in center field. AJ trying him out. He's a mad scientist, and he makes it fun. You probably don't like all the moving around and chaos, but it is kind of fun to see who's going to play where on any given day. Look, this one has. I think maybe this one is the one from today. Well, no, this isn't the one from today. But you got Javi Baez in the corner, and then you got Malloy in the other corner. He made a nice play out in right field the other day as well. But yeah, on any given day, you could see anybody anywhere. I love the versatility. I think it makes it us very flexible when somebody gets injured. Where you don't have to say, oh, well, we have too many first basemen. Where is such and such going to go? Well, Torque might play right field. So that means that Colt can play. That means that Malloy has a place to go because he can play the other corner. Well, you don't put out there in both corners. That'd be weird, but
we're well beyond weird at this point.
But it makes our lineup more flexible because Kerry Carpenter can play a corner. He can play DH. I like the flexibility that it creates when you got guys that can play a number of different positions. Yeah. What is going on here? Okay. So this is the lineup for today. We got Justin Henry, Malloy in the 1 slot. We got Riley Green in center today. Torres in the 3. Carpenter at the 4 playing DH. We got Torque playing first base. We got Baez at third again. Oh, yeah. I didn't even get to that part. So on consecutive days, we got Javi Baez and Jahmai Jones playing third. So the game where Baez played third, I wasn't on TV. But I did see that he had an error. It said fielding error, so I'm assuming that wasn't a throwing error. I really don't know too much about it. They didn't get it on camera, but we can assume that he booted it or something happened. But I did get a chance to see Jahmai Jones at third. Wasn't pretty. The first one he threw into the dirt. Torque scooped it out. Respect. That's what he does. So we were able to get that put out, but he kind of got crossed up, and on the second one where he didn't look like he couldn't figure out whether he wanted to charge it or let it bounce. But he kind of got crossed up, which is going to happen when you don't play a lot of third base. This is when we talk about Scott Harris and stress testing their their abilities. This is a perfect opportunity for us to figure out how versatile Jahmai Jones is. He's a former second-round pick. He's a pretty good athlete. He came into the Angels system as an infielder, I believe, at second base, but it ended up in the outfield. But he has the roots of an infielder, and I'm sure this won't be the last time we see him at third base. But yeah, so Baez is back at third. Sweeney playing shortstop today. I'm assuming it's a right-handed hitter because, like I said, I don't want to see a pitcher because I don't want to see him against any more lefties. It was not pretty. And then we have McKinstry in the corner and Rogers at catcher. Any thoughts about anything you see here? The defense, the lineup, any of that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, sure, it's fun, but at the same time, I mean, this is quickly turning into, what I see every summer, a travel summer team, guys playing 3 different positions in a game over the course of 7 innings. They got to be able they can prove to do it as well. I mean, I think back to the movie, Moneyball, when they asked Scott Hatterberg, hey, we're going to teach you to play first base. He goes, I've never played there in my life. I'm scared as hell to field anything that comes at me down the line. So I mean that's cool about Jones. I just think too, like at the end of the day, I think right now as it stands, with the issues and the injuries combined, I see such a scenario where Johnny Jones becomes a regular guy on this team for the majority of the season, and it pushes out a guy like Wenciel Perez back down to the minors. Just because of everything else that's been going. I mean, right now, that could change, obviously. First couple weeks into the season, Wenciel recovers, bounces back, provides more clutch hits like he did last year. But, as of right now, in terms of right-handed hitting and his flexibility to play other positions too, like you noted, originally an infielder, and now they're trying him on the left side. I think that the benefit of that flexibility outweighs what Wenciel may have done last year. And right now they need the outfield help. And if Perez is not 100% and he's limited coming in to, day one, game one, and Jones is, putting up some respectable numbers. He's not crushing the ball like Torque hitting 4 bombs, but the guy is hitting a respectable slash line. I can't speak really too much on his defense, but I don't feel like he's been a detriment or been highlighted to be like, well, this guy could be error prone or doesn't position himself well, before the pitch for, defensive alignment, pre at bat. So I think I don't know if I would say it's a hot take, but I think that's it would be interesting as it develops, the season goes on. But we'll see. We'll see whoever else adds a different position to their utility belt per se. But and I don't know. I don't really have any other words other than that. So we'll see. I'm sure some guys will end up with the year having played 3 to 4 positions as a total.
Yeah. And I think that they want to, I think just off of continuity and to respect to the fact that, Perez was a big part of our team last year, I think they want to give him every opportunity to take that spot. But ultimately, like you said, if he's not 100%, why start him out in AAA? Give Jahmai Jones made the Yankees out of camp last year. Maybe he's a 4A player and he'll never be, and he'll never really hack it at the major league level, but you might as well give him that opportunity, allow Wenciel Perez to tear it up in AAA, get healthy, and then by June, it'll be much more clear how the team, Meadows will be back anyways. Who else? Meadows and Vierling will be back anyways. Perez will be doing whatever he's doing. You might as well put out a guy that can obviously play infield, outfield. He's second on the team in RBIs for what it's worth. He's got 8 RBIs. He's tied with Gleyber Torres for second, and Torque having the most with 9. But he's having a good camp. He's hitting the ball well, and he's proven that, He's proven that he can make major league teams in the past. Now it hasn't translated to regular season success, but yeah, I don't see any reason outside of the fact that he wants to hold on to somebody else's 40 man slot. That's what I see, honestly. But neither here nor there. We're gonna take
the nice thing too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say quickly too, like all those guys, including McKinstry, as we kind of evolve into the infield a little bit more after the next break here. All these guys are minor league options, so we're not necessarily having to cut them and say goodbye. It was just a matter of up or down. So that's he signed an arbitration. This is his last year of player control.
Gotcha. So you're saying he has one more option?
Yeah, I mean, he signed an arbitration deal, so that tells me that he's still under team control. Otherwise, he just would have been released if he had refused. He didn't agree. Gotcha. They would have said, "Okay, you're a free agent then." So that's nice. They still have that in their back pocket.
Right. All right. Taking a break. All right. Pitchers. Top five pitchers right now. Who is it?
I gotta say the starters have been pretty good. Olson, Mize, obviously Skubal's doing what Skubal does. Flaherty's pitching today, so I think that'll probably be a little bit more of a size to see, but he's been fairly okay. Not terrible. I'll say that. So I think that's fine for spring training. Montero's been respectable. Bullpen arms have been knocked around a bit as of late. Brisky, Chafin, Foley, those guys have struggled, but you look at and Will Vest to a small degree. But Holton's pitched pretty well. Brent Hanafy has been phenomenal. So you got a mixed bag here, but the better part of the arm so far have been the starters, the traditional starters.
I think that Job has solidified that he needs a little bit of work. It's been a little up and down. I've seen him go right at Vladdy Guerrero and basically say, if you can catch up to it, go right ahead. And Vladdy couldn't, but something, he's still not getting that swing and miss. As dynamic as his stuff is, I don't know if it's the way he's sequencing it or the tunneling, but I feel like teams are still getting way too much contact for him to have stuff as dynamic as he does have. I think he gave up 3 home runs to the Yankees in that last outing. But I think that he could genuinely. I think if you're putting your best 5 guys out there, obviously Maeda is there, not as well. I still think for what it's worth, he is leading the major leagues in spring training in strikeouts. For what it's worth, I had to throw that in there. I don't care.
You're an ass.
I had to get that off, but yeah. So I think that Mize has completely in this week. Mize and Torque, the 2 1-1 guys that we have solidified their spots on the team. I think that it's going to. I think the starting 5 is going to be Skubal, Olson, Flaherty, Mize, and I think Maeda. Montero was another one that's been getting kind of roughed up too. I don't know what day it was, but he got what's it? Okay, what's his total? You got his total? Right.
Yeah, Kiter's he's pitched. He started 2, and he's pitched relief in 2 so far. So 4 total games, 3.72 ERA, 9 2/3, 8 hits, 4 runs, all earned, 5 walks, 13 Ks, 0 home runs allowed.
5 walks in 4 outings.
With 13 strikeouts.
Okay. Maybe I watched the bad.
Yeah, to your point about Job too, like his overall numbers were elevated a little bit. They're still right in line with Montero, but he's only pitched the same thing. He's 4 games, 12 and a third, 3.65, 7 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned. 3 of those 4 home runs were in that Yankees game. But your contact thing's right too. He's a little wild too. 4 walks to 8 Ks for Job.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that there's no reason to rush him to the majors. It would be different if he was just blowing everybody away. I think he could benefit from the pitching lab a little bit, even if it's just for a month and a half. Inevitably, I hate to speak it up, but it may be not a necessity, but somebody from the starting rotation may go down, and then there's just an opportunity to see, okay, let's see where you're at now. But like I said, long season, no reason to rush him up and throw him out there just because of all the hype. That's cute and all, but you don't do him any justice, I think, especially when you have it. And it also would be different if Maeda was getting torched, Montero was getting torched. And we haven't even talked about Cobb. We got Alex. We are deep at the pitching as far as pitching is concerned. This goes back to that magic number, 5 runs. If we can find a way to manufacture 5 runs, we're gonna be a problem this year. I don't see what the Guardians and Twins can really do with us. The Royals obviously have one of the best players in baseball, with Bobby Witt.
Yep,
yeah.
Bobby Witt Jr.
But none of them have a pitching staff like this, and they got some solid players. Obviously, the Guardians have some good players, but I think that we are the deepest of that bunch. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's like, where would Cobb even fit? Are you really going to send Kiter Montero down?
I know that's your boy. Y'all might be cousins or something, man.
Look, he's earned, in my opinion, I think a lot of people's opinions, he's earned the right to stay with the parent club. I mean,
I agree.
He pitched pretty much almost the entire year with them last year, and only got better as the season went along. I touched on it last show. He had a very respectable outing in relief in Cleveland after they were getting pounded early in the first game. Came in, pitched, gave him 3 or 4 quality innings. Didn't really have any major issues. And obviously the complete game shutout against Rockies was impressive in its own right in the major league. That's hard to do in any team at any level, especially considering, it was in the run they were having, but overall it was a team that was kind of struggling to score runs for most of the year, and then they kind of got it rolling at the right time. So I don't know. I mean, it kind of makes you think, okay, are they going to keep Cobb or Maeda, or like, is there someone that's going to get released potentially? I mean, these are all questions they'll have to, answer down the line here. Now, who knows? They could do the same thing with Cobb, what they're doing with Jose. They just signed, transition to the 60-day and just let him take his time, rehab, finish whatever he's got, and then just, work his way back up, and then maybe wait until there's an injury. But Job down Toledo makes the most practical sense right now. Limited sample size, kids young, nerves, first spring training, for the whole session. So all some new experiences for him. So I think, like you said, get regular reps down low with Toledo, work on his command, get comfortable, be more confident in his rhythm and his routine, and all those things that go into, pitch to pitch, at bat to at bat. I think he's only going to get better. So he'll be in a better position if and when the time comes for a call up for whether it's emergency start or, someone goes down and he's got to go put 3 or 4 starts in a row.
Yeah, it's really a good position for us to be in, because we really could have been in a situation where we're like F it. Who else is gonna do it if he doesn't? You know, we're far from in a situation like that. So give him some time. So outside of that, we had the spring breakout game coming up in a couple hours, I think. But yeah, well, we have had an opportunity to see Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal, Josue Briseño, Thayron Lorenzo, Ayu Lee. Out of that crop, well, first of all, Clark has looked very comfortable. Like outside of the fact that he wears number 87, which sticks out like a wild, like a, stick out like a sore thumb. He looks like an everyday. Now, granted, I haven't seen him go up against upper echelon beginning of the game where you see the, Wheeler and Scherzer and guys of that nature. We've seen more of that from Thayron Lorenzo, which is why we've seen the ups and downs of, bombs, but also striking out a ton. But out of those crop of players, or maybe somebody I didn't mention, who do you see breaking camp or getting that first call up to the big show? Could be at the end of this year, could be the top of next year. But who do you see coming out of the crop as the first?
It's tough. I think there's a chance. Yeah, I'm going to say it's like a tie right now between McGonigal and Clark, just based on some of the signings, the 1 year deals they put in the infield. Vierling's coming up here. He'll be a free agent sooner than we would like to think. And then eventually you're going to have to lock down Carpenter and Parker to long-term deals. And now with this nerve thing that's maybe creating some question marks, you hope that gets a full recovery and then we don't have to worry about it. But I think those two guys have the closest call-up opportunity, injuries aside, that is additionally going forward in terms of the catching situation. And obviously with Lorenzo being a left-handed bat, if he was a right-handed bat, I think playing first base with catcher, I think
he's a switch hitter.
Yeah, but he's going to have batting left-handed more often.
Right.
There's more right-handed pitchers out there, so you wouldn't see him batting lefty nearly or righty as much. So if he was a traditional righty playing with the catching first base combo, I think he goes to the front of the line, just purely based out of the power that we need and run production that he could potentially provide when what we've seen, limited sample size going back to last year and that spring on. But as of right now, and may not be this year. The only thing weird would be if our outfield continues to deteriorate from an injury standpoint, Max Clark could suddenly end up seeing himself like Holiday last year, getting called up within his first year, but in brief chunks.
You're right about that. I hope it doesn't get that dark. Just because, unless Clark is hitting 400 down there and his power tool starts developing more, I don't want to see him rush to the big leagues either. There's just no need to when you have so many outfielders. We don't have so many center fielders.
Right.
Still got Baddoo out there too, who's about to get.
We've seen enough of him. I'm sorry.
I know
he's a minor league lifer. He is nearing the end of his team control. His best years were 2 years ago, and now he's added injuries to his resume last year too. And it's just, at that point, I'd rather just see if it's for a 10-day period. Give me Max Clark for 10 days, no pressure whatsoever.
Okay, yeah, no, yeah. But my point was, our outfield depth is still there. You hope that, because we've already got the injury bug with Green and Carpenter. I'm hoping that the Meadows and Vierling situation is a very temporary, minor, whatever the case may be. But I would say just to kind of go against the grain, I think that Ayu Lee, he's a guy that honestly, had he tore it up and continue to play good third base, would have been a guy that could have made the opening roster. He's not ready. He's not ready at the plate as of yet. He got a ton of early at bats. He looked good in camp and practice and stuff like that. They were ranting and raving, but it just hasn't translated over to the games as of yet. But like you said, Torres isn't here for long. We still have bias for a while, but Jace Young hasn't solidified. Jace Young might end up sliding over to second base next year anyways. With Torres gone and Keith playing first for the time being, it opens up that third base slot once again. They're already molding Hayuli to possibly play some third base. So he's going to start the year in AAA, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He played in Erie last year and tore it up. So, yeah, he should be probably the opening day third baseman down in Toledo. So we still might see him this year. We might see him this year, let alone, down the road next year. Because it'll be hot. It'll be, you're going to see a lot of Clark and McGonigal and Briseño and Lorenzo next year at this time next year in the spring. So it's exciting. We got a ton of guys. We're going to get a chance to see our first round pick from 2024. When was that draft? Yeah, 2024. We're gonna get to see him in the breakout game today. Hopefully, that's on TV, man. That's gonna be must see TV. We've got to see some Max Clark. He had a RBI double. Was it a 2-run RBI double or just a RBI double on Friday from Max Clark that scored McGonigal? And so I think they've all got off the schneid hitting wise. I know McGonigal and Clark have. I like that they call him Spark too. I think that's a hilarious and great. But yeah, I know for sure McGonigal and Clark have gotten their first hits in spring training. I'm not sure about Briseño, but and then of course Lorenzo definitely has a hit. But Briseño, can't forget that this guy was a Triple Crown fall ball winner. Like, dude is gonna be a monster. He's already huge. I think he's like 6'4", 200 plus pounds. I
got Max's and McGonigal's numbers if you want those.
Yeah, please.
So Clark's hitting as of through yesterday, slash line 286 average, 350 OBP, and a 429 slug. McGonigal's 333 with a 500 OBP and a 500 slug. And there's one other guy among that list who I think was already temporarily just sent back down in the last couple of days. Mel Jerry, 455 average with a 455 OBP, which I'm assuming no walks, with an 818 slug.
Yeah, I mean, Malgeri is the guy that I talked about early on was tearing it up, and then they just stopped playing him. I'm like, is he hurt or something? Like, weird. I don't know. He plays center field. He's playing but honestly, I just don't think they wanted to cause any confusion because, I don't know. So
because Roberto Campos got a lot of his like reserve outfield playing time on the back end, and he's done all right. 300, 417 OBP and a 400 slug.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've got some interesting options that could be some unknown emergency call-ups throughout the season from AAA.
Yeah, and I think I want to say he's ranked. Yeah, Campos is ranked 14th as far as top prospects. We're gonna take a break and we're gonna finish up the conversation on the prospects real quick though, because I'm kind of all over the place. you know how I do. All right. I was trying to look up the Tigers draft pick, the first round draft pick. I wanted to get his name out there.
From last year.
Yeah.
Oh, you're thinking of Bryce Rainier.
Yeah, Bryce Rainier. So that's a guy that we're going to get to see for the first time. First time in the breakout game. who else? I wish I had the roster. At one time we did have the roster on here, but yeah, my point, I went on another tangent. My point was that we've got an opportunity to see these guys play against semi minor league, major league competition. So, would you look at that? There it is. But we're also going to get an opportunity to see them amongst other young stars as well. So they're really going to shine amongst their crowd. I feel like, Max Anderson hit a bomb the other day, like towards the end of the game. I think it was against the Pirates, but he's another guy that's ranked, semi-ranked, but he hasn't really torn it up. He hasn't really had a breakout season as of yet. He is. I thought he was ranked amongst. He is ranked 26. So, for those of you out there like me,
in relation to all these prospects. It's funny. I was just looking at Renier, and Max Clark. All these guys are lefties. So I mean, I gotta imagine too, from a bigger picture standpoint, in the next couple of years, we gotta sign some right-handed hitters, because these guys love their lefties. I mean, you go to even to Carey and whatnot, Carey Carpenter,
Green,
and
Meadows,
Colt Keith. Yeah, I mean, these are all lefties in the last high rounds in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and I don't know how often you see lefties that never mind. I don't know what I was going to say, but at least McConaughey's right-handed. I think he's really the only one out of that crop that is, though, honestly. And then of course Hyu Lee's right-handed as well. So, but infield guys, though, all the outfield guys, Clark, I want to say Stevenson is, but don't quote me on that. So you said Renier's left-handed?
Yeah.
Oh, what I was gonna say is, how often?
Shortstop.
I was gonna say he loves lefties so much. He went out and got a shortstop that was left-handed. Like, come on, that's ridiculous. Next, we're gonna see.
He got Cole Keith 2 years ago in his first draft first overall draft. He got Cole Keith hitting lefty.
Yeah. Second, well, maybe it's kind of the same thing, but I feel like a left-handed hitting shortstop just seems the most rare of the rare. I could be mistaken though.
100%. 100%. At least not. We've seen some switch hitting shortstops going back in our day, like Edgar Renteria, some other guys. Some switch.
Renteria was right-handed.
I thought he switched. I thought there were some guys that switched.
I could be mistaken, but Renteria was right. Even for the Marlins,
Well, that's something of a different Cardinal shortstop from the 2000s. But I mean, there had been more switch hitters or righties versus your traditional left-handed hitting. And I'm assuming Renier's a right-handed throwing. Otherwise, I don't know what he's doing it short.
We're not doing that, Coach. So. He's right-handed throwing for sure. We're not going to get out of pocket.
No, it's funny. Talk about briefly. I'm going to do my one-off note here. Like, I did see there was a Seattle Mariners prospect who was ambidextrous pitcher. We've seen a few more of those in the last recent years, but that's kind of taken its own storyline its way. But these guys are going to be excited to watch, get a little more exposure. Fans that maybe not know too much about them aside from doing shows and podcasts like this, I think will be great. Gives them a little bit of a scope in terms of what the farm system is looking like against some of the other more highlighted and ranked prospects among other organizations.
Yes, the number one the number one farm system, and also we have the most top 100 overall prospects in all of baseball, and it'll give you an opportunity to get a look at some of these other guys that full disclosure, I've never heard of John Peck. I have seen Jake. I have kind of been up on Jake Holton. I think he played for Erie last year. No idea who Carson Rucker is. Hey, just throwing that out there. So, and then Franyer Montilla, I think, has played some. Has been called over a couple of days in spring training, so I have seen his name. But It's fun for all the, minor league baseball nerds like I've kind of developed into. So, yeah. Any closing remarks? We knew we had a lot to talk about. We were able to condense it into an hour, which I love. It's always the goal. But any parting words before we wrap things up and get back to it for the next week?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're going to be focusing on is what we've elaborated more in depth here on this show today compared to last week, just because of some of the growing, now we're starting to get a little bit clearer understanding in terms of, how long, or at least we know for sure, Verily and Meadows will be out, so we can't really put them in the near first couple, series picture. And I think it's going to be left side infield, shortstop, third base combination. I think there's a chance where McKinstry or Sweeney does not make the 26 man out of the gate, just because you've got too many guys playing one position that can't play another. And then you still have Jace Young in there too. I mean, Jace could end up going down too. I mean, kind of blocking him at second. You've got Colt, who played second all last year. I think is an easy, number two behind him if he's not going to play first ahead of Torkelson on a day, because I really don't see many instances where Colt is not playing unless he just starts off so bad against left-handed pitching that there's a day where they get a lefty and it's, Gleiber and Torque at first and second instead of him. That's really the only scenario I see that coming in. And then, who's going to step in from the outfield? Is Jamani Jones going to get that last right now open spot on the 26 man based on what he's done? I foregone conclusion that he's going to end up breaking camp with the team. And then, like you said, I think it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of the battery between Rogers and Dingler. Dingler should get a little bit more opportunity out of the gate, at least more regular, third day non-school bowl starts,
Right.
Play the whole game pretty much. And we'll see what happens from there. He really didn't do much with the bat, but like you said, he's a defensive catcher. So I think his emphasis is going to be on calling good games, getting familiar with the pitching staff, which really isn't too much different. I don't think he ever saw Flaherty last year. Dingler didn't come up until after they had dealt Flaherty. So he's really the only new guy that he hasn't seen from last year. He's seen everyone else, including the
He's
bullpen
probably caught
guy.
him during the spring too, if I'm possibly.
Yeah. But I mean, in that case, Scooble's not, in terms of Flaherty, but I feel like Flaherty kind of likes Rogers too, with that same kind of, relationship that Scooble has. Maybe not to the same degree, but he's got that same comfortability and understanding and trust in Rogers that I think Dylan's going to try and learn from and put into his own game to build that trust with the pitching staff. So that's an interesting dynamic. And I think we all know we're going to be watching, a couple, Torkelson like a hawk. And I think Baez, health wise, how is he going to look and how often is he going to play early on? I think that'll be an indicator in terms of how close he is potential 100%. But I swear to God, if I see him in center field, we are in deep shit.
Yeah, for sure, especially in Comerica Park. But you make a very good point before we get out of here. Jace Young might start the year in AAA, and he was another guy that just did not look good yesterday. Just against righties, he actually has decent splits against lefties, but the few shining moments that he's had, he did hit a home run this week. He's only got a handful of hits on the season, but he hit a home run this week, and he had those two doubles, one of which was nearly a home run to start off his first two at bats. So he's shown potential, and he's played pretty well defensively. I think he made a nice play ranging towards the hole yesterday. So the defense, I think, is continuing to develop, but as far as hitting wise, he has not looked good at all. And like you mentioned something about Cole Keith. You say you may against, if he's doing just so bad against lefties, that might be an opportunity for him to not be in the lineup. Cole Keith last year hit 305 with a 718 LPS against lefties last year in small sample size, 82 at bats. And he hit 250 against righties. A much bigger sample size, obviously. But yeah, he is having a I've been really pleased with him hitting wise. If he can start having a little bit more lift, he is going to be a problem because he's a contact hitter, and he hits for a pretty solid average. I would venture to say the 260, I think it was 260 overall that he hit, was upwards of the tops of the team, outside of probably Green and Carpenter probably hit for a better average than him. But yeah, he's also looked pretty solid at first base as well. So we're gonna leave you with that. Leave you guys with that. But stay tuned. Obviously, 405 is the 405 is the time on MLB Network. If you want to check out the spring breakout game, we're gonna definitely talk about that in some detail next week. Subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube. If I was June, I would be able to find that graphic where they show you how to click that notification bell and subscribe to the channel, and of course on all audio aggregators as well. Corner to Copa, and we got some I got some write-ups out there as well on ffsn.com, so you can check those out as well. But we're out.
Peace.